Shalom, shalom. I would like to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace, blessing, and safety to all the Akim out there pushing this truth throughout the four corners of the earth. To the elect out there, shalom unto you, and to the sincere believers as well. This is the brother Hadabiar from the GMS Toronto camp, coming back at you with another one. And seeing this article here on RT News, says U.S. troops told Trump's attack on Iran is a single fire of Armageddon. So this is the vibration that's going on right now. You're hearing a lot of talks about World War III and Armageddon and nuclear war and nuclear the nuclear missiles and this is it's all prophecy at the end of the day. These are the things that the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yashai have been warning people about. But people see these headlines and see what's going on, and they don't understand what's really happening. They don't understand that Esau's rulership, they don't understand Babylon the Great, is coming to an end. It's crumbling. These are all part of the events that are going to lead toward that chip, that hour of temptation, and World War III, and the return of Yahweh Shai. So I want to read a little bit of this. Let's read a little bit of this. So multiple commanders across all branches of the U.S. military have offered a fundamentalist Christian explanation for the attack on Iran, describing President Donald Trump as the harbinger of the second coming, and the conflict itself as a single fire for Armageddon and the Military Religions Freedom Foundation, the MRFF, have reported. I don't even know what this word means. I want to get this. Salakia. I'm trying to play a person or a thing that announces or signals the approach of another. Okay. So there are, they think he's some. If anything, he's announcing war. That's what he's doing. Okay. Back to the article. So they think this man is announcing the second coming. Trade as soon as I see cars out here with that. The Iran flag on their whips. The MRFF, a U.S. nonprofit promoting the separation of the church and the state, as well as the freedom of conscience within the military, said on Tuesday that it had received more than 200 complaints from active members of the U.S. military over the extremist Christian speeches delivered by commanding officers since the start of the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran. So these damn people don't even know what the hell they're talking about. You know, they have no idea what they're talking about, and they have no idea what they're in store for. Because being a part of that American military, you know, you're you're set up to fail. You're set up to die. You're set up for judgment at the end of the day, because Yahweh Shai is gonna do away with all of these armies of all these other nations. One of the complaints was logged by a non-commissioned officer with a unit in ready support status, which can be deployed into Iran's combat zone at any time. The commander of the unit urged us to tell our troops that it was all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referred numerous cautions out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the immediate return of Jesus Christ, which is not his name. His name is Yahweh Shai, you know? So let me get this. These nations are going to be judged. Joel 3:1. For behold, in those days and in that time, I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So, these, here it is, these commanders in chiefs, they're talking about, Armageddon, or these Christian leaders, whatever the hell they are, you know, not knowing, what they're really referring to. Get that word.
Strong's H 3092. Yehoshaphat.
And you see it, Yehoshaphat, Jehoshaphat equals Jehovah has judged, and it's Jehovah, it's Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai is gonna judge. So all these, all this conflict in the Middle East, all these armies are gonna be drawn out to there, eventually to be judged, So they're talking about, here it is, they're talking about, the book of Revelation, and referring to Armageddon. And you're right, the Bible does speak about, Armageddon. It does speak, and it does speak about, the second coming of Yahweh Shai. But these people have no idea, what they're in for. Here it is, these I guess these, they're telling their troops. Let me read that again. Urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. Yeah, God's divine plan of you getting blasted away. God's divine planning of you feeling the wrath of Yahweh Shai. Continuing, he said that President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light a single fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth. He had a big grin on his face when he said all of this, which made his message seem even more crazy, he noted. And he's somewhat right, in terms of, the Most High did ordain Trump, to start all this, chaos to start of this war, which his commands, come, he's taking commands from, the elites, you know, the elite of Esau, pulling the strings, but at the end of the day, it's Yahweh Shai. It's Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai who's controlling all of this, who's ordaining it. So here's, people are looking at Trump like he's the savior, not knowing that man's a damn Edomite, not knowing that that man's wicked, not knowing that Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, the Most High, is controlling all of this. It is all through him. This is Romans chapter 13 in the GNT. Everyone must obey state authorities because no authority exists without Yahweh's permission. And the existing authorities have been put there by Yahweh. So, all these leaders, everything, this is all part of the Lord's movie. They're not giving, and they don't know any better. But all this is the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Verse 2, whoever opposes the existing authority opposes what Yahweh has ordered, and anyone who does so will bring judgment on himself. For the rulers are not to be feared by those who do good. What does it say in the NLT? Romans 13 in the NLT. Everyone must submit to the governing authorities, for the authorities come from Yahweh, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by Yahweh. So the Most High is the one who's put Trump into office. The Most High is the one who put the spirit on this man to move the way he's moving. And it's because it's all prophecy. It's his will. Revelation 22:12, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according to his work, according as his work shall be. So you say Jesus Christ, which is not his name, but you're right. Yahweh Shai is getting ready to return, and all this, talks of wars and rumors of war is all things that are going to lead to his return. But best believe when he returns, these so-called Christians ain't going to know what hit them. Here it is. They're giving these troops this speech, talking about the Bible, talking about, this is, this was all ordained, through JC, yeah, it's ordained by the Most High. And it's also going to be ordained that in the midst of World War III, as these wars and rumors of war escalate, and the chip is made mandatory, and you people get drafted to fight this war. You're gonna come face to face with Yahweh Shai. The very same person who they're referring to, but obviously they're referring to him in an incorrect name, calling him JC, which is not him. His name is Yahweh Shai. And when Yahweh Shai returns, he's going to obliterate these armies, you know, and they're all going to be gathered down there in the Middle East. They're going to be fighting amongst each other, and then Yahweh Shai is going to return and you know, and do away with them. And I'm going to get into that right now. This is 2nd Ezra 13 in the G&T. And 7 days passed, and the following night I had a dream, and in my dream I saw a wind coming out of the sea, stirring up great waves. As I watched, the wind brought with it out the sea what looked like a man. This man is Yahweh Shai. He is our deliverer. He is our savior. He was flying on the clouds, which is the chariots. And he turned his face, and everything he looked at began to tremble. These armies are going to tremble when they see Yahweh Shai. These armies, they're going to shit themselves. They're going to be thinking, what did I get myself into? Here it is, we're getting speeches about JC's return. Who is this man? You know? Man, people are gonna be shook when Yahweh Shai returns. And when he spoke, everyone that heard his voice, so let me go back up. He was flying on a cloud, and when he turned his face, everything he looked at began to tremble. And when he spoke, everyone who heard his voice melted like wax in a fire. I looked again and saw a cord too large to count. There were people gathered together from all parts of the world to fight against the man who had come out of the sea. That's all these armies, these U.S. armies, the Chinese armies, the Russian armies, the Canadian armies. All these armies from all these nations are going to put their differences aside to go up against Yahweh Shai. You know? These people are talking about the second coming. They don't know what that means. They don't know what's coming. You know? They don't know that a so-called black person is coming back to judge them and to kill them. Because you're in that army, you're dead. Then I watched a man carve out a high mountain to fly up on it. I tried to see the place or the region where the mountain was carved, but I could not, because that chariot is gonna cover the sky. And I saw that all the people who had come together to make war against him were terrified, but they still prepared to fight him. Because the Yahweh Shai is gonna put that spirit on these armies to go after him. You know, they're gonna use they're gonna use their high tech military. Esau's gonna use his sword to try to take out Yahweh Shai. They're gonna be scared, but they're still gonna fight. Because at the end of the day, where the hell are you gonna run to? His chariot is gonna cover the whole sky. The whole earth is gonna see him. It says every eye shall see him. Okay? So they're gonna be nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. So they have no choice but to try to take out Yahweh Shai, which is not gonna happen. Let me read verse 8 again. Then I saw that all the people who had come together to make war against him were terrified, but they still prepared to fight him. When the man saw the great crowd advancing to attack him, he did not take up any weapons. The only thing I saw was what looked like a stream of fire coming out of his mouth. He sent a flaming wind from his lips, and a storm of sparks from his tongue, and the stream of fire and the flaming wind and the great storm combined and swept down on the crowd that was coming to attack him. So these armies are going to feel that fire, that laser fire, and swept down the crowd that was coming to attack him and burned them all up in a single moment. That crowd was too large to count, vanished, and there was nothing left but powdery ashes and smell of smoke. I was shook when I saw what happened. I saw the man come down from the mountain and call another large crowd to come to him. This was a peace-loving crowd. All sorts of people came. Some were happy, some were sad, some with their hands on their feet tied, and some brought other gifts as to gift the Lord. Yahweh Shai is going to fuck up these armies. You know? Here it is. These what is it called? The NCO, you know? These commanders giving these speeches. What speech are you gonna give in that day? When you're right in front of Yahweh Shai, what speech are you gonna give in that day? What are they gonna what's Esau gonna tell his troops? You know? They have no idea what's coming. And that's why, let me get this last precept. Is woe on Amos 5:18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into a house and leaned his hands on a well and the serpent bit him. So these people have no idea what's about to happen. You know? They have no idea what Armageddon is all about. The war, the last war, the war to end all wars. You know, World War III, the army's going up against Yahweh Shai and his angels. You know, and the victory is already his. The victory is already his. So these armies, this proud American army who thinks they know what the hell is going on, you know, who talk about, you know, the book of Revelation and Armageddon and the return of Christ. They're going to be in for a rude awakening when Yahweh Shai returns and judges them. That's going to do it for this video. I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, blessing, and safety to all the elect out there, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and to the sincere believers. I pray this lesson was edifying, and until the next one, Shalom.